When I was 14, I got the unfortunate nickname of Tesko with a C. This was, I've never told anyone the story. In fact, so if you meet me, ask me why I'm called Tesko and I'll tell you the story. Or I might not, just to wind you up, because I've told some people haven't, and it's became this folklore. But later on, Gazmac, a very famous, infamous maybe, graffiti writer and one of the original b-boys in this city, told me, "Oh Tesko, you should write it with a K, because it runs better in hand style." No, I can't do graffiti in hand style, but he said write it with a K, so that felt like a wee bit like I was getting a crown. You know, there you go, and it kind of passed on from the kind of first generation to where we are now. So Tesko with a K is who I am. I represent a crew called the DimeStop crew, which I started in 2013 with the idea of getting all the people who did this dance we call popping, or as it was known as body popping, when it sort of hit here in the sort of 80s with the electronic scene, and I guess boogie and disco scene as well. You had a lot of people doing these dances. So I represent the DimeStop crew. I kind of gathered everyone together who was doing that, and it's been going since 2013. I also grew up with the Flying Jalapenos b-boy crew, and that was my beginnings. When I was 18, 19, we used to train in the warehouse, which is now SWG3, with that crew was run by Shelltoe Mel and Stevie. I also represent the Playboys Inc., which started in 1981 in San Jose, California, and that's the style that I do within this poppin' dance. Poppin' is from the west coast of the US. It's from California, it's from Oakland in the 1960s. During the civil rights movement, the Black Panthers, their plan was to teach young people, because they weren't getting taught in school. There was disadvantaged children everywhere where they weren't getting to go to the same schools of segregation, you know. And even when they did try to bring the schools together, it was a class thing and a poverty thing. And so what the Black Panthers did, and I'm sure you know about the Black Panthers, they set up community centres, and in these community centres they gave them additional academic classes as well as cultural studies. And these cultural studies would teach them about their African heritage, okay, from West Africa, where they'd taken these slave ships, okay. Now, in these particular areas in the 1960s in Oakland, of course you had this funk explosion. In California, San Francisco, all these areas in the Bay Area where this dance comes from, there's a funk band on every single corner. So it was very much a part of the city and the culture at that time. So it started there, in these community centres where they were learning a mixture of different things, including African dance, including martial arts, kung fu. Bruce Lee had a studio in Oakland at this time doing his Jeet Kune Do, so it was all happening, and there was all this movement, this idea of how they were moving around, and even this idea of when we talk about popping and hitting your muscles, even that could be related back to a couple of different African dances as well as sort of kung fu things. So the crew that I'm part of, Playboys Inc., they're actually from San Jose next to Oakland. In 1981 at this point they'd amalgamated a lot of styles coming out of the funk era in the 1960s, such as locking as well. And you can look all this up on YouTube obviously after you listen. And they combined a lot of things that were being seen at that time. So in order for me to further my studies, considering I'm from Glasgow in Scotland, I had to go out there and learn more, and by learning more and earning respect, I'm also part of that crew. So that was a bit of a tangent. There you go. So that's who I represent. The projects that I do currently, I mentor people in the scene, in the popping scene, to help them improve, and that ranges from all ages. Before lockdown I was doing a weekly session helping people, and this was helping raise a community fund which helped put on events and battles and workshops and teach people in this city. Another project I do is my own music within this scene called High Park Funk, and I'm going to play some of that when I'm dancing later on so you can hear it, but it's about that tradition of the sort of West Coast funk sound. In terms of like inspiration and shout outs, I would be lying to myself if I didn't say that the whole way I learned about this dance was, and this will encompass a couple of stories, was learning how to b-boy breakdancing. So the first thing I ever saw was this thing called E-Bombs World. It was before YouTube, and there was a viral video from a young dancer called Dave Elsewhere, and there was a popper on before he went on a stage show. Now stage shows is particularly quite an important thing in popping because it's about illusion. But he came onto the stage. I'll talk about breakdancing in a minute. Anyway, Dave Ellsworth comes onto the stage and he walks on. And as he's walking on, now I'm 14 at this point watching E-Bombs World, because E-Bombs World was great, because you can see NBA clips and everything on there. So he walks on the stage, just normal, and then they put the music on, and then he just becomes this like person that's not human anymore, and he melts down into this like pose and he pops up, and then he's all flexible and does all these moves that people see. This is like long before you seen Britain's Got Talent, people doing that. And I was like, I need to learn that, so I used to sit in my bedroom, just learning these things now I know called strobing, because it's like in a strobe light, when a strobe light flutters. So seeing that, then I first went to like a club with guys from my basketball team, and they all just started a circle. At that time, you know, people usually listen to R&B and hip hop, right? And You Got Served, this movie just came out in that kind of year, and they got a circle and started doing breakdancing, like b-boy moves. Did like a freeze, did a bit of footwork, and just stood back. I was just amazed. I was like, I can't believe these guys that I've known for years do this dance. So I waited and I had a wee bit of a wait, and then at the end of the night I went, oh, I've just got in. I did my move, and they were just shocked because I just didn't come across as the kind of person that could do that or know anything about that. So then from there I found that they knew the flying jalapenos, and then the rest was history. Learned everything about breaking from these guys, man. Took me under the wing, told me how to train, how to stretch, how to do everything, how to approach the dance, introduced me to people, took me on the road trips and travelled, and then in particular Shelltoe Mel and Shelltoe Mel were really into popping as well, and it's something I'd always seen burst but never had access to. So the three of us sort of pushed that together, and then that's when I really decided, you know what, one night we were in the Buff Club where we used to always have a circle. So this circle culture continued through my whole life. I decided that West Coast pop blocking came on, they played it, Ronnie Hudson, and I was like, you know what, man, this is the thing, that sound is like exactly what I love. So I just pursued it wholeheartedly, just went 2 feet in. I've always been really against being a jack of all trades, and I've always wanted to know my lane, you know, and I finally found it, and that just totally became my whole identity. But through breaking and even visiting New York, because my wife's got family there, I understood that culture and identity is so much more important than learning 1,000 moves within this dance. Do you know, like, you know yourself, Glasgow culture, and the word culture means, well, what matters here. If I walk into a place, like, I ask myself, what matters here? And I can tell you, if you could tell me 10 things that matter in Glasgow, right? One of them's up there, right? So when I went over to New York, I'd studied culture because I do geography. That's like my main thing, my main kind of occupation. And I thought a lot about culture. And I went to New York, and people hang out in these stoops, and they're very like, you know, like, they don't want to get stabbed or stuck up, so they act very like this kind of gesturing and hard. So I was aware of that, and recently I went to California and I spent a bit of time in Sacramento, Oakland, San Jose, San Francisco, and I just watched people and asked people questions and did what they did, and the whole dance came into perspective. And this, I can't honestly emphasise enough the power of its roots in the Black Panther Party and the Black Civil Rights Movement, as well as the importance of like the Chicano culture, right, which a lot of people know about, and their contribution in breaking too, because breaking might have been from New York, and popping might have been from Oakland, but they definitely mixed because people had family on both sides, such as Sugar Pop from the Electric Boogaloo's, he had family on both coasts, so there's a lot of sharing going on. And then when people started getting media attention, even more, and of course hip hop became this lovely commodified package which gets sold to the world, and then it became its own little pockets of hip hop and what hip hop means to different people in Russia, France, Japan, whatever. But if you go back to where it is, you can really tell what matters, and it is this individuality and this expression, and the things that matter to them, like Kung Fu, like stop motion movies, like funk music, being on the one, and a lot of, if you look at this era, it's about, sorry to be kind of not to be kind of simplifying, I don't mean to simplify it, of this idea of this is what being white is and this is what being black is, because we know the world doesn't work in binary like that, but there is an active intention to be non-white, and at that time, grow their hair out, you know, don't relax it anymore, wear these African dresses, dance these dances, listen to this kind of sound of music, and even jazz, like jazz all changed into funk, and James Brown was about, let's take it back to Africa, let's just be on the one, let's just sit in this pocket, let's just chant, you know, and scream, let's not be nice, let's not be Uncle Tom. So I think we need to respect that and understand what that is before we can then embody it as people who are not from there. And that's a big believer, that's a big belief in mine and what I'm all about, and just learning that, paying respect to that, and allowing myself to mediate within this whole messy thing, and just come out the other end and just do it with integrity and intention, and just connect with my own self and know that, you know, we're Celts, and with this idea of what white is, you know, we also went through that in Scotland from the Highland clearances in a way where tartan was banned and bagpipes were banned and you were meant to be proper. And I know it's a long time in the past, but you know, you can resonate with things and you can match things up, and I think the essence of what this dance is, both breaking and that, is that, you know, breaking, for example, breaking, they were against disco. Disco was, when it was made with drum machines which could be perfect in time, and they were like, that's ridiculous, that's not human, you know, that's not African. You know, the drummers in Africa, they're like the healers, they're the spiritual leaders of their communities. So I think when we're talking about breaking and we're talking about popping, it's not this 5, 6, 7, 8 dance in a studio. It's about connecting to like the human soul, right? Because we're not talking black and white here. We need to respect the terminology of race because it was created to take power over people, and we know it exists, so saying it doesn't exist and saying you don't see colour is nonsense, because we all should be anti-racist. But we need to respect the fact that we're all human and we have these emotions, and we can tap into it and we can channel it the same way that they did in the 1960s to the 80s to sort of express themselves. And that expression is far more powerful than me copying someone for 1 hour in a dance studio and just doing what they did, you know. So the journey of what this is, I often say it's like being a jazz musician, where you learn your craft, you're an artisan, you're a craftsman, where you every single day you do this because you know it's about expression and it's about finding who you are as a person and mediating all these things that affect us, you know, and then channeling it through improvisation. And jazz musicians improvise, you know, and that's what they were about. And you hear it through different jazz musicians, how they explore that, you know, that 300 years of like slavery or whatever, you know. And for us, I mean, there's different things we can mediate, human emotion being the same, you know, we all feel emotion the same way. So I think in terms of this dance, this is why it's so powerful. It's way more than an individual person, you know, this is what it is. And this is why it's important, if you're considering this, to follow down this path, as deep as that chat went, sorry. I think if you're considering this dance, this is the power of it, you know, it can really, it'll feed into your own life, you know, in these awkward moments of job interviews. I've never been scared at a job interview in my life, because see if you can battle in a circle against one other person, dancing, when you're on display, your whole soul, body, spirit, everything's on display, and you can do well and you can hold your own, don't need to win, you can hold your own and handle your nerves, anything's easy for that. Stage shows, I've danced in front of 4,000 people, danced at Team Park, danced in the big festival theatres in Edinburgh. Nothing is as scary as one-on-one battles, and especially in an area I've never been. I've battled in a club in New York, fine. Battled in a park in LA when everyone is actually a gangster. And you know, that's scary. And if you can do that, hold your own and be accepting of yourself, you know, then it's just awesome, man. The sky's the limit, you know.
name's Shelltoe Mel, and I'm probably known as a veteran, what you'd maybe say, in the Scottish hip hop scene, and I have been involved in dance since the 80s, which makes me hella old, but I'm not telling you my age. But when I started out in the 80s, well, I lived in a wee village, so there wasn't, the internet wasn't about. The only thing you could get was from the four TV channels. So like the music first got to me, it was through the Tube, Salt and Pepper on the Tube with Jules Holland, and I was like, who are these amazing women, man? And the style, everything about it, it just blew my mind. So I went to my first concert, the 87 Def Jam tour, at the Barras, LL Cool J, Eric B, Public Enemy, and it totally blew my mind. And from there, like, I just sucked up everything I could of the hip hop. So the dance, as I say, it was really hard to get to learn. You didn't have classes like nowadays, you know, so it was just if anyone had a video, it get passed around, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So back then, like, I had a friend, Julie, and we got her videos. Her dad lived in America, and we got the OMTV rap videos, and we basically tried all the moves, Scoob and Scrap Lover, Big Daddy Kane's dancers, so that, Cookie Crew, etc. So fast forward to the 90s, and I met the Floor Freaks, which formerly are known as the Glasgow City Breakers, which is actually in Bryan, in Evo. And that's where I learned breaking, and I saw a female breaker, Karima from Actual Force, Paris, again, Battle of the Year 95, and I was like, whoa, because again there wasn't any females really about doing it, so that just spurred me on to get involved, and that's how I learned how to break. So I became part of the Flying Jalapenos crew, which next year we celebrate our 20-year anniversary. And that was founded by Shelltoe Mel and Super Steve. And Niall, he's a member of the crew. He's still teaching and keeping it going as we all age. So I later on, fast forward again, I got into popping, because again, there was no one up here like popping, so it was really hard. At least you had breaking, but popping and locking, nothing. So I got into that in later years. So now, even now to this age, I'm still learning. I do class every Saturday night with Boogie Frantic, freestyle rock classes, with Triple OG Papo, who Wiggles is. I have trained through the years with Wiggles, Mr. Wiggles, who did this amazing jacket. And he's one of my mentors, but and while I remember, they were the Rocksteady crew, were the ones how I got into, who I first saw breaking, so that was in the 80s. But anyway, Mr. Wiggles, yeah, I learned from him, but he's an OG, class as an OG, but Papo, he's a triple OG, so he's one of the original guys. So freestyle rock is what I'm going to show you a wee bit about today, and it's all about kind of peace and love, whereas outlaw rock is maybe more battle. But that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, so peace. Hello, I'm just going to show you some freestyle rock steps, maybe throw in a wee bit of popping, but basically I want you to get rocking, which is basically this step, momentum. So sideways on. Down. 1 and 2. So I'm going to show you this step here. It's called the Amsterdam Grind. And this is it very slow. 1 and 2. So fast it looks like. 1, 2, 1. Get those hips moving. 1. You can change side here. So half speed, it's here. Kick, step, kick, step. So So it's the rock. This is the most important bit. Because all the other steps come from this. So here, keep your arms nice and wide. This isn't a particular rock song that you would use, but it's nice slow beat. So Amsterdam grind, you can move back with that. Forward. Right, next step you've got, because we've not got a lot of time, I'm just going to zip through a lot of things, okay? You can Google them, okay? These steps are freestyle rock steps. Check out the OG Papo, okay? Hang on, just put that on again. So you've got this step, step 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bum, bum, bum. This is the vice step. So slowing it down, it's cross, out, 1 and 2, if you're putting a counter, and 4. Bum, 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 bum. So you can add that on to your first one, Amsterdam grind, and A, vice step, get your hip out, bum, 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 bum. Okay, I'll slow it down again. So if you want to do 4 each, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Other step, I'm just flying through them. Okay. You've got this here. 1, 2, bang, hip, bang, bang. So in time of the music it would be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bum, 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 bum. Hit those hips. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. So add that on to your first step, Amsterdam grind. Here, vice step. Into this one. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. More. So you've got this one. You go around. Here. So it would go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Other way. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can even stretch that out longer with style, still with the rock. Yeah. It's all about the style. Keep the rock going. Never let it fail. So yeah, that's a good one for travelling. So all these moves are kind of like what you do in your top rock before you go to the floor, whatever you do. Unfortunately, I don't go to the floor as much these days. So yeah, so travelling moves, you can use that here. Here, here, forward. So your drops, set up for your drops, kick, step, step, down, up. So say you've done your Amsterdam grind before, Right step. Yeah. Then another step. Here, step, step, step. Kick, step, step, down, up. Or you can do, if you're really confident, step here, down, out, in. Yeah? Don't wear a long jacket. Right, this one, this is a wee bit more tricky. So you go step, cross, back, back. Here, 1, 2, 3, spin, round. So make sure you've nothing in your house that you're going to break your, I was going to say, your on. Make room. And never make a failure again. Yeah, so that one, you go kick, step, step, 1 and back, prepare, 1, 2, 3, spin, round. So fast that would look like 1, 2, ba, 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 ba. Yeah. Again, slow it down. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Right, so start off. Amsterdam grind. Here we go. 6, 7, go. Into bicep. And this one. And I'm not old, I forget the names of them, so just copy me, stay with me. Then round. Yeah, step, step, step. Bum, bum, bum. Then you can go to the floor if you want. I was going to do an E-spin but I forgot. The floor. So just going to, as I say, because we've got so little time, just giving you a wee taster of all the things, like wee taste of locking, okay? Locking is funky, too funky. Bum, 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 bum. Wrist roll, point. Okay, so your wrist rolls, make sure you can see. Wrist roll up, point out, here, down. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can bring that here and take it out with that one if you like, whatever you want. So what you want to get is the ball in the back, down, walk. So it came through the robot shuffle, which was this move. Walk, walk. Deadlock. So you've got as well, my favourite one, give yourself 5, because they've got like this. Try and get 5, no one to give them 5, so you give yourself 5. Look. Bit of scoop up, walk. It's been a wee while since I've done these. Stop and go. Here, see, up, here, round, up. 1, 2, here, 4. 1, 2, here, stop, and go. Out, here, there. Look, yeah. There's one that's killed the roaches again. You go down the floor, you kill the roaches, but I'm not going to kill the roaches today. So that was basically another wee bit quick one. Here, heel, heel, step. And that's basically locking, a wee lock. Just a wee quick lock. Before we go, just do a wee popping. In fact, no, I'll leave that to Tesko.
Okay, cool. Why just give us a wee intro?
Yep. What do you want me to, like?
Just, hi, I'm Mel, this whole evening.
Oh, right, aye.
Because you're going to do your freestyle after that,
Cool.
so it's just
So, that was... Cut! Rewind.
I love that, I think we might keep that in.
So! That was short and sweet. But hopefully you could take away, I know I lambasted you with a ton of steps and it probably won't take it in, but if you take away anything from it, even the rock step, yep, practice your rock, it's all good, with your wrist rolls. All these steps, it's all foundation, and if you look to the right people on the internet, you'll get it. Like Sugar Pop was who I learned my locking from, and like, yeah, as I said before, my freestyle rocking is from Mr. Wiggles and Papo, so look them up and you can get knowledge, okay? And if you want to check out my stuff, just check me out on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, it's inclined. Peace!
MC Mel went to just sign up one stacked, and after that it was about beginning to stack a rat. Tsunami full of raps, second rack and perhaps a universal school of hip hop. Check 1, 2, you don't stop, blood clot, won't stop, revolve until the moon stops. True MC orthodox, throw your legs, I won't stop. Remember when my chat said you better bring sunblocks. BB in the woods, tripping like with the big ass top. I once sent a nighttime scenario like doomsday, so you make the getaway. Here they do the motorway, by the way, here's a bone of contention. For the bonus of the season, you were flagging through the let's get interception. Take it back to the essence of us. Simple the propaganda, but there's 40 time with us. Microphone check 1, 2. Think of something new, R&B and dubstep. It needs to be explained to you that this is hip hop. This is hip hop. This is hip hop. This is hip hop. With dizzy timing.
What we are going to do is known as popping, as you've hopefully listened to the first section. Now, some of the basics, I'm going to do a number of what they call styles within this dance, like little groupings that you would do of ideas, right? Each one has its own character, each one has its own approach, alright, so we're going to try and do that. So we're going to take it back to the 1960s in Oakland, and we're just going to pose side to side. We're going to do what's called the slot, where you slot into the beat. So, you move when you hear what's called the kick drum, and then you stop on what's called the snare drum, the clap. So it goes 1, 2, and then you wait, and then you move again when you hear the next kick drum. So it's 1, 2, kick, drum. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So you just go side to side, like this, right? It's really crucial. This is like the one of the main moves. Now, what this stop's called, when you stop within your dance, is called the DimeStop. Okay, so this stop. Now, all I'm doing really is that I'm very aware of like shifting weight. So let's just drop back a bit. This is the slot, right? So to do that, right, you can do anything within that framework really in the slot, but it's a side to side, right? So it's honestly just like a two-step, if you think about it, how basic this actual dance is, but as opposed to stepping, yeah, all we're doing is going side to side, right? So you just pose like a robot. So it has this robotic tradition happening too. Alright, so if we're counting music, 5, 6, right? I just count in fours. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now all I'm doing is lifting my arm up and stopping. Okay? Nice and clean on that beat. You could do 2 arms. Okay, so try and follow me this little sequence, alright? So feet. First of all, let's think about the feet as well before I move on to the sequence. So we're going to go to this side. All I do is I feel the toe that I'm going to, and that allows me to take the weight across. So you need to actively think of lifting the weight up. Okay, so the feet just about the toe and the, so even the heels come up, right? So you see my heels come up there like that. That might be a good way to start. Okay, my heels coming up. I'll exaggerate it, right? To go side to side. Okay, and sometimes within that they call that floats because it looks like you're floating, right? It looks like if I keep my head on the same level, that's called floats. It looks like I'm floating across the ground, right? So it's kind of within that tradition. Boom. Right? So, first sequence, if we're just standing kind of neutral, shoulder width apart, right? When we hit the first beat, we go 1, 2, okay, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try that, because I'm going 1, 2, I'm waiting, 3, 4, and I'm doing 1, 2 to move again. So it gives you a bit of time to think, okay? So let's go like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay? Full speed. Let me just do a couple of different arms. I want you to follow what I'm doing if you got that good. If not, you can rewind it. Pretty good feature. And then we're going to change up what we're doing with our arms, alright? Same thing though with the feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Change arms. 5. Now this almost like comes into poses too, right? Which is quite important in the dance, alright? Cool. So, that's a little sequence, you can kind of follow what I'm doing. The next one I want to talk about is called the creep. It's one of the oldest moves in the 60s, right? So what they would do is come up, stop, right? Same kind of feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, 7, 8, bah, 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 boom, boom, boom. Right? So that's a creep. Now you can follow that fairly easy. All it is really just stepping up and landing down. Boom. And now this was about coming on to a stage in an illusion, right? So if I'm coming on the stage and you're the audience, right? It's about coming on and looking like an illusion, alright? Okay, we're going to fast forward. Now I want to take us to like some cool stuff that I really love, that was really big in the 80s, alright? Because music went from being played with drums to a drum machine. So let's think about drum machines and how they're very electronic, right? And then it kind of changed the movements. So first, we're going to do a wave, but don't worry, We're not going to do this one that everyone knows, right? You can learn that another time, or this one, alright? We're going to do what came, actually, it was in the rave culture. So we're going to do what's called trace waves. I think it's a really accessible way of doing this. Now, our fingers touch, okay? Then, this becomes the trace, like when you have tracing paper. We go elbow, shoulder, okay? And you're going to come across. Now, the crucial thing is as it comes to the shoulder, you meet it with the other hand when it comes to the middle, alright? So it's going to go like this, okay? And you just go the other side, you just have to push it across, let it meet that shoulder, let it go to the elbow, bring it down naturally to that little wrist there, boom, right to there. Can you see that okay? Alright, yeah? Okay, now if I did it straight up, it would look like this. Right, much better, right? Rather than me just doing it slowly. So you just trace round and round, yeah? Like that. Okay, nice and slowly. Follow me, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I had a jacket in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Go all the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, you can potentially, if it's going to be on YouTube, yeah, you can do the slow motion setting. You can half speed this video, put it in half speed, try it that way. In fact, look up the now, Tesko popping, you see other videos of me, click on it, put it in half speed. Or other people doing this dance. Nice way to see it and digest it, right? It's a new language for you maybe. Now, watch how this works, right? Right? Other way, behind the back. Boom. Now, basically, I can just do an infinite circle. I can do it down, in front, I can do it up, I can do it behind my head, I can do it behind my back. Right? Now, because I can do that, right? Then what starts to happen is, with my other hand, I can then start to make a sort of wave shape. So I just do like a, it's kind of just like a circle, let's say. We'll make this really easy, right? Now, I actually use my other hand to make you think that a wave's going through. So I'm not doing this very difficult illusion, quite advanced popping technique. I'm doing this. And your eye thinks that I just wave through my body because of it. Right? You guys think I'm doing a wave, right? I'm not. I'm just doing this. But I'm doing this, right? So let's go with a cheap one, because this one's really easy and accessible for you, as long as you can do this. Then it's a slower one, I'm doing this, okay? Then you can start thinking about how, you know, that maybe bends that one in, and then you can start to try it, okay? If you Google how to do an arm wave popping, there'll be people doing that, so go and try and find that too, just now, and come back to this, or open a new tab, alright? I bet that'll be outdated at some point, because people won't have tabs or some other stuff. Anyway, next one. So, is a tut. So, that style is called waving, trace waving, right? The next one is called tutting. So, what's awesome about this technique, and it's called Flowmation from Playboy Zinc San Jose, is everything connects, alright? So, boom, we can do this, boom, right? At any given point, I'm going to bust into my trace, right? Boom. I gave you that one, didn't need to, sorry. Now, tutting, right, so let's see this, right, we come here, right, we're doing our trace wave, we do one, we're going to do hands together, right, prayer, position, okay, bring it up, under, right, now, you can do a million of these, right, these are all concepts and tutting and stuff that you can do, right, but the idea is that you come to here, okay, and then you come up. Now, what that is really is you just lift it here, and then you just bring the wrists in. I know that some of you might, if you're interested in dance, have maybe done some tutting concepts because you've maybe seen them on TikTok and stuff. That's absolutely fine, that's cool. Now do them, but how do you bring them into like what this is? Right? Okay, let's do one of these simple ones. So the old school one I did there was bring it up, turn it, boom, bring it down, boom, boom, something like that, right? One you may want to learn is this one. So I like to roll my wrists in. what you do is you want to create a box here. Okay, so the best way to think about this actually is bring your wrist out and think about that perfect angle, right? Maybe even bring it like this first and bring it out. And try and get that there. If that feels good, then the other thing is this comes down and you just bend that elbow down. If you keep that shape, it's going to connect here. And then you just do a box, right? So let's think about that as a little sequence. I messed up, never mind. Right? Anyway, you get the point. Cool? So, we've got the wave, we've got a tuck, okay? Then what we're going to do is a quick strobe into a glide. Right, so after we've done our tuck, let's say we do that one, right? Boom, we're going to turn. And what we're going to do is just pull your hands out really slowly, one bit at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Bring it down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try let's do a float, right? We're going to just tiptoe. Let's just do that, right? So the sequence would be, we do our trace, flip it into our tuck, right? And even when we're doing this, we can switch side to side, right? Boom. Then here, you're going to turn, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now all that is I'm just opening and closing and stopping. So when I open, I just stop. Don't overcomplicate it. It's just really simple. Just stop, stop, stop. Just from my arms. 4. I'm nearly there every time. Alright. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you can even bring it up this way. What makes it look good is on the music, really. Then I'm going to point down. Boom. Right. Then we're just going to go. Jump, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Oh, you can even robot. After it. We'll do a robot to finish it. Because then we're getting everything in. Right? Cool. So, we've done our trace, done our tuck. We're here. Okay, we turn. Boom. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what makes it look good if you do it on the music? So, if you can do it slowly first, no music, probably more helpful. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see me here maybe? See I'm doing it on the music? I'm not even doing anything other than stopping. But your brain does the work for me. I'm just stopping. I'm not doing anything other than stopping. Right? Then I'm going to go show you what's happening here. I'm going to go jump on my toe. Right? So I jump on my toe, boom. Now what's the cool thing is that even if you did this against a wall, you're holding a wall, and you just slowly go down onto your heel. So try and go up on your toe, and go down on your heel really slowly, yeah? And if you did that continuously, you'd find that what would happen, especially if you're in a mirror, your head stays on the same level, right? So then you can go in circles. You just walk around like this, and it looks like you're running. Yeah, you can do that too. So we're kind of doing that. We're here. Right? So try that, slow it down, watch your video back, see how you feel. Robot, right? The idea is almost as important as anything, right? Let's think, we need to think what's called isolation. Do one thing at a time. Because you program a robot to do one limb at a time, say, right? We're talking old school robot, not the new robots, right? You move one thing at a time, and it's made from bad material, it's going to shake a little bit, right? So let's imagine, say, right? The arm goes up, can't stop properly, it's all rickety. Okay, it's called an animatronic robot actually, right? So we're just going to move one thing at a time. Think of all our joints too. We've got hinge joints, that's your National 5 biology. Ball and socket joints. Listen, if you get your National 5 biology, please leave a comment, thank me. And that's your two joints. So the hinge joint can only do this, that's your elbow, right? It can only go up and down, right? You have to turn the ball and socket here for it to turn.
So that's just a hinge, right? What else is a hinge? What else is a hinge? Your knee, exactly, your knee, son. So, your knee too, right? So you can use that to your advantage. Right? Cool, man. Ball and socket, shoulder, neck. They're not very robotic, man. Robots never had ball and socket joints, they only had hinge joints. So you need to make your hinge joints, your ball and socket joints, and hinge joints. Right? So let's think about it like that, right? So, okay, so I'm just keeping that limited, right? To go up and down. I'm not allowing it to go everywhere. It can only go up, down. Right? Here, hinge joint. The hips are ball and socket. Right? You know about that club groove? Well, clubs are still shut with COVID, but you'll know one day. Right? Don't want it to be a ball and socket. I'm joking, but you know what I mean, right? Make it a hinge. It can only go like this. Just fold you forward and back, right? Neck, hinge, make it a hinge. Maybe it's got another hinge in the middle. Right? See how I'm not really doing much other than this idea, and it looks already like a robot, right? I just move and stop using hinge joints, right? Another thing could be that one thing controls another thing. What if my arm controlled my leg? And my wrist controlled my foot? What about that? Right? Ball joint, sorry, I did say a ball and socket joint. But you know what I mean, right? Loads of concepts, loads of ideas. Just take it really slow. In fact, sometimes a slow robot looks more like a robot because you're trying to be too human. Right, for example. Do the creep. Let's do the sequence, yeah? Let's do the sequence and let's finish up. So we're going to robot at the end. Alright? So let's do it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bring the hand up from anywhere. Trace, right? Maybe you're feeling comfortable now, you want to change how you're doing it. Do the little one I showed you. Bring it back up. Okay. Do our tuck. Boom. Boom. Creep at the end. Alright, have a go. YouTube's your absolute friend, and so is Instagram, and speak to people and give it your best go, right? It's more simple than you think. Right, always remember this actually. KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it simple, stupid. Alright? Right, my name's Tesko, Tesko.DimeStop on Instagram. If you want to see what I do and follow what I do or interact, you're more than welcome to. Alright, peace.